Welcome to Mortgage on My Mind, where we take the mystery out of mortgages and make dreams of home ownership a reality. I'm Natalie Salins, a top 1% mortgage broker with 20 years of experience, based right here in sunny Los Angeles. If you've ever wondered about pre-approvals, appraisals, or what loan product is right for you, don't worry, I've got Mortgage on My Mind, so you don't have to. Each week, I'll bring you expert advice, real-life stories, and insider tips to help you navigate California's competitive real estate market with confidence. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or just curious about how it all works, this podcast is for you. So let's talk mortgages, demystify the process, and make your real estate goals a reality. Ready to get started? Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mortgage on My Mind. I have an incredible guest today, Mark Walker. He is a seasoned Los Angeles-based realtor and investor with over 20 years of experience. He works at Nourmand Associates in Beverly Hills. Mark has completed more than 150 transactions across Los Angeles, ranging from starter homes all the way to luxury properties. And he's known for his client-first approach and deep market insight. He's also flipped and renovated multiple income-producing properties, which is a great thing that we'll probably chat about. And so whether helping clients navigate the process of buying, selling, or even inheriting property, Mark brings strategic guidance and local knowledge needed to win in SoCal's competitive market. So welcome, Mark.
Thanks so much. Thanks for that wonderful introduction.
We do it again. Yes.
So nice to be here. So nice to speak with you.
Yes, yes. Just before we started recording, we were chatting about, do you need a pre-approval letter? What does it take for a first-time home buyer to understand and know when they enter the market in Los Angeles?
Okay.
And what should they understand that makes this market different, and what should they be prepared for?
Love that question. As you know, from working here as long as you have, LA is a super competitive market. There is competition. If the house is priced right, if the house has been renovated and looks lovely, then there's going to be competition, right? I've had buyers come to me and say, okay, I'm waiting for the right house and then I'm going to go get pre-approved, right? What happens after they go through this search and they find the right house? That pre-approval can take time. It can take days. It can take up to a week, depending upon how quickly they can get everything to the lender. And so,
With us, it's 24 hours as long as
okay.
it
But they have to really be
But they
on
actually have to send us stuff.
and
Yeah.
get you everything.
Yeah.
And so what I hate to see is a buyer wait to get their pre-approval until they find the house. And then by the time we submit the offer, by the time they have that pre-approval, somebody else has submitted, or there's four other offers.
So true.
The thing about LA is there's a ton of competition, right?
And so you just had somebody say that to you, right? I want to find the house first.
At an open house, this lovely couple walked in. I asked
Uh-huh.
how it was going and how their search was going and if they were pre-approved. And they said, we want to find the house first. And I just was like, oh, wait, hey, because so many homes in the neighborhood were going with multiple offers, and the sellers don't really consider the buyer's offer unless they have that pre-approval with them, right? So then it's a matter of, okay, how do you get your offer accepted in this multiple offer situation? And you got to have the right team. You got to have the right agent. You got to have your fully underwritten pre-approval. And you can talk about what that means, the difference between a fully underwritten pre-approval and a pre-approval, or even worse,
Or worse, prequal.
prequal, right? Having the fully underwritten pre-approval allows the buyers to compete with the cash offers that may be coming in,
Right.
because they can potentially remove the loan contingency off of the transaction when they submit the offer, because the lender has taken the time to take them through the whole underwriting process before they write the offer. So your offer then is stronger. It's like a cash offer. So you need to have the right lender who's willing to take them through that process ahead of time, which will help arm them to win in that multiple offer situation. You have to have the agent that knows how to have the connection with the listing agent and find out everything they can about the other offers that are coming in. to find out about the seller motivation. Sometimes it's not always about the highest offer, the highest dollar amount. Sometimes it's, can you give the seller 2 weeks after closing in the house because they're trying to transition to a new place? Sometimes it can be about a ton of different things. Sometimes they're looking for a super fast escrow and they'll take a lower offer to get the super fast escrow.
Goes faster, right?
You have to have the agent who can get in there and can have the relationships or have the knowledge of the other agent that they're working with in order to get that information to help inform their offer and help their offer rise to the top. You have to have your team together before you shop in a competitive market.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also, like to play off that real quick,
Yeah.
people think they know what it's going to cost them. So to wait to get pre-approved, it's what I don't even understand what that means. Yes, people punch numbers online and Zillow, but that like sometimes taxes are wildly off on Zillow. Insurance is wildly off on these like random online mortgage calculators, right? Not really understanding what something's going to cost you and just being like, we think we want based on what we're seeing online a 1.2
Right.
million house, and then we
Right.
actually chat through the numbers and they're like, wait, taxes are going to be 1,300 a month and not 700 a month. That happens regularly. But not just that, if you are not salaried and just pure
Oh,
salary,
yep.
then that means you really don't understand what you can buy and what you are qualified for.
And that it leads right into the other members of your team, right? When you go to
Right.
buy a house, who does your taxes? How were your taxes done? And do you have okay, LA is filled with a lot of entertainment industry professionals who don't get
Tons.
paid in with W-2s at the end of the year. These are self-employed folks. And a lot of times they say, "Oh, I make 200 a year. I make 150. I make 250 a year." But then you look at their taxes or the lender looks at their taxes and says, "Yes, but you write everything off." So in terms of what the bank sees, the bank doesn't see you making 250 a year. The
Right.
sees
Or
your and
And it can get so complicated here because even if you do, let's say you're a multiple W-2 borrower.
yes,
So you work for all different studios, right? So you work for NBC and Netflix and CBS and yeah,
yes,
and you get pay stubs from each,
yes,
which normally is through a payroll company. So I've got entertainment partners, casting crew, media services. Like I got all those different W-2s. And let's say you're like, I made 250 last year. I know, and that was W-2. I know what I make. I'm fine.
sure,
Let's say we're at the past the middle of the year and you're
sure.
like, oh, I just haven't had a lot of W-2 income this year. I've been paid 1099 this year.
Then what do you do? We
That's an issue.
and
If you haven't spoken to somebody and especially somebody a little bit more creative on figuring out how we're going to make this work for you,
absolutely.
it can be problematic. Yeah.
So I have clients who have gotten pre-approved and have gotten their loans based on a profit and loss statement signed off on by an accountant. And so
Yes,
that is the member of your team that in that situation, in that moment becomes very important because they need to be in communication with the lender to say, okay, this is what we need, this is what we show, this is how we're presenting. And the same thing with the accountant who or the person who prepares your taxes. Sometimes the advice is, depending on the time of year, maybe you do your taxes this way for this year to show more income, right? You have to pay a little more tax, but it may be what helps you qualify to get into the house that you want in the neighborhood that you want.
for
So
sure.
it's all about that planning and the preparation.
Exactly. And it's funny because lately, so if you have 20% down on what we call non-QM products, so those are
Mhm.
products where we're not using standard tax returns
Yep.
or pay stubs, things like we can add W-2 income in as well. But I've been pricing lately and our in-house non-QM products are very strong. So if you have 20% down, that rate is going to be very similar to a standard conventional rate.
Yeah.
So it's funny because then the discussion becomes, do you want to spend an extra 50 grand to file your taxes to go conventional? Do you just want an eighth or higher in rate and I'm going to do bank statement only?
There
And
you
it's
go.
going to cost 150 more a month, maybe, but you don't have to spend 50 grand on your taxes. So that's how you figure out financially, like what is really best for the client? What's the most sensible?
And that leads to the preparation and getting the pre-approval first.
Okay.
Having those discussions first so that you can be totally prepared so that when you find that house, your offer is seamless. You put in the offer, I know what kind of loan I'm getting, and it's not always just about the rate. It can be about the points. It could be about the plan of, okay, this rate
Sure.
might be a little higher now, but what is it going to look like? Where are the rates trending? And in 6 months, is it going to be good to refi and get that
Yes.
rate because you'll be presenting things a little differently at that time? So
Right.
there's a lot of the preparation that goes into place. So what I say to the first time home buyers, or even if you're just new to the LA market, is do your homework and be prepared. Build that team, have the conversation with the professionals who can walk you through all of these steps
Right.
because it is a very competitive home buying market. And homes seem to fall into three categories, right? There are the complete fixers that haven't been touched in years. And those homes tend to get grabbed up by the investors, right? The all cash
Totally.
guys come in and they grab those because oh, there's money to be made here. I can redo this and redo that and sell it as new.
Totally.
There are the redone homes that you can walk in, move in. You don't even have to paint. You just look at it and everything is lovely. Those are super competitive. Those are the ones that get the multiple offers. And then there's the third category, which are the homes that are that middle of the road thing. They were redone maybe in the early 2020s or early 2010s. They don't quite fit today's market. They're not full renovations. They're not full rehab properties that need everything, or there's something quirky about them. And the interesting thing about the market right now is those properties are tending to sit on the market a little longer, and there's some opportunity there. Those are the ones that you could potentially go in and have a little bit of negotiation with the seller because they've
Mm,
been sitting a little longer. So those are the interesting ones. Then the conversation becomes more about what kind of condition can you tolerate as a new homeowner? And how much work are you willing to do, or over time, what can be done over
sure.
time and what needs to be done right away. And it's again, it goes back to having the right professionals, having, if you don't have the contractor and you don't have the inspectors, making sure you're working with a realtor who does have those
Right.
professionals that they can.
And you've done flipping before, right?
Oh, I have done, and I have tons of clients who have done flipping. And then it definitely becomes about who
Mm.
are your contracting partners, right?
Right.
Who is the person who's going to be there, and can they take your project all the way through from planning to completion? Will they be there the whole way? And even when it comes to those little final after they leave, and you call them back and you say, wait, this is a little off. Can you come back and fix it? The ones who are going to show up and come back for you, those are the ones that you want on your list. So,
Exactly.
yes, as far as I'm concerned, the LA market is about having the right team with you so that you can successfully navigate it, so that you can win the multiple offer. The
Right.
agent that's going to be there with you through the escrow, the up and down of the escrow, because that's the part they don't show you on television. They show people on television, oh, yeah, we see this house, we love it, we make the offer, two back and forths, and then we have it. Yay.
I was going to say, what's the like in turn with that? What do you think is the biggest misconception buyers have about the SoCal market?
Oh, that once you get your, that it's like it shows on television, $1 million listing LA. You put in your offer, there's three phone calls, you get the keys. Hooray. And the reality is, it is a buyer beware. It's a kind of a consumer protection market, right? So once you have the property, you still get to do all of your inspections. The seller has disclosures that they have to give you, but in Southern California, the buyer does all their own home inspections for the most part.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to go through those inspections and find out what it is in those home inspections that you can live with, what you need to go back to the seller to get credits back or repairs done. And we don't like to have sellers do repairs for the most part, right? Because the seller typically tends to try to do things on the cheap. Do you have the right agent who can negotiate back for those credits for you? right? And then once you get the credits back, how is the appraisal going? Is the property going to appraise? If it's a multiple offer and you ended up going over asking in order to get it, you have to make sure you know what's going to happen if there is an appraisal issue. How is that
And
gap
let's
going to be covered?
let's talk about that.
Sure.
Let's talk about contingencies.
Sure.
What
Uh,
are they? What's a
so
contingency?
a contingency is an opportunity for a buyer to cancel an agreement and get their deposit back. And that's as simple as it can be explained. These are your opportunities during escrow to cancel the agreement, get your deposit back, and move on to another house. One of the main contingencies is your inspection contingency. Obviously,
Right.
you once you place the offer, you can get every system of the home inspected, the roof, the plumbing, the foundation, the windows, the chimney is a big one, the sewer line is a big one. You get all of these inspections on the house, starting with a general inspection. Based on those inspections, you can either cancel the agreement and get your deposit back as long as you're in that contingency window, or you can negotiate the seller with the seller and get some credits. So that's the biggest one. There's also the review of all of the seller documents that they give you because the seller has to give you disclosures, what they know about the house. The agents have to
Hmm.
give you disclosures of what they know about the house. You'll get a title report, you'll get an environmental hazard report on the house. You're flooded with information. You need an agent who can walk you through what all of that means, right? To help you understand it and help you just decide whether or not you want to stay in or you want to cancel or you want to negotiate over something.
Right.
So those are the bigs. Then there's obviously the appraisal contingency. The bank, your lender, is going to send an appraiser to the house and to make sure that the house is worth at least the contracted price. And
Right.
if it's not, there's a myriad of ways that gap can be covered from the seller reducing the price. That's way number one. The buyer can just pay more and cover the gap. Or you can do this interesting thing where let's say you were going to put 150,000 down and the house is 10,000 short on the appraisal. So instead of putting 150,000 down, you put 140,000 down on a $10,000 less purchase price, right? Which frees up 10,000 to then give to the seller above that appraised value. And
Sure.
your loan terms don't necessarily change.
That's only if the seller's willing to come down, and
That
that's an expectation that's hard to set in LA.
correct, correct. But there's just ways of, let's say the seller isn't willing to come down.
Because,
How do you cover the gap? You can restructure the loan to free up some of that down
of
payment.
course, or
Th-
just get a little bit of MI.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
it's MI is so small nowadays, people get nervous about it.
Yeah,
But if there's a $20,000, $30,000 gap,
yeah,
you like just put exactly the same amount of money down. And now instead of 15%, you're bringing in 13%. And now
exactly.
the MI is $20 more.
Exactly.
$20 more to save the gap of 30,000, of course, is the way we're going to do this. So it can be a very simple fix, a
Absolutely.
gap in appraisal.
And the crazy thing, so people look at it from outside and say, why would you do that? Why would you pay more than what it's appraised for? And that's a crazy thing when you're looking at it from the outside.
Sure.
However, the thing about the LA real estate, since I've been doing it, is the appreciation that you get over time. And when I started, and this is dating myself, right? But the first house I ever held open was in Atwater Village. I don't know if you're familiar.
I live
200.
in Silver Lake 20 years.
Okay, there you go. It was in Atwater Village. First house I ever held open was on sale,
300,000.
$273,000. And I sat that house open every weekend and nobody wanted to buy it. People were coming, where is this? How much do you want for that? That's way too much. And now, had I known, I would have bought everything I could have found at the time because now those homes are selling for over $1 million.
At least.
Yes.
Like a kind of hole in the wall is 1.2 now.
Exactly in that neighborhood. That's why people will pay higher than what the appraised value is. And the second part gets a little wonky, but appraisers have to look back at the last 3 months of time when they set their values, right? They look back. What has
What?
sold? And if it's a hot neighborhood, a hot house in a hot neighborhood, The buyers are coming in and they're looking at what is today's value, what's it worth tomorrow, what's it worth. And so the bids can come in higher than what that 3 month ago value was. And that's when you run into that appraisal gap. So, that's the second contingency. And
Right.
the third major contingency is the loan contingency, which we talked about. If you can come in as a buyer and be fully underwritten because you have a wonderful lender who can take you through the entire process ahead of time, right? And get you
Mhm.
that fully underwritten pre-approval. And then that loan contingency is not necessarily something you have to worry about.
Because it's really, we say, as long as I have one on my end, they cover each other. You're safe with your deposit
Yep.
based on having either. So a lot of the time, even though we'll come in and I'll do a full underwriter approval up front, no problem. The seller and the listing agent, they really want you to waive the appraisal. They
True.
really don't want to know that if there is a discrepancy on the appraisal, they don't want to hear from you about it.
True.
You
However,
know?
yeah, but if your offer is structured properly, we can give a certain number of days for the appraisal, even in a multiple offer, and still win.
Yeah,
So I try to protect the buyers with as many contingencies as we can
sure.
get in there and still get the offer accepted.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so yes, though that's how the system works. I have a booklet. It's 10 steps to home ownership that kind of explains it and goes through. It's a what to expect when
I
you're
like
buying
it.
a home, right?
Yeah.
Right down to how much you can expect in home inspections, how much you can expect to spend in closing costs, so that as far as the way that I look at it, look at the process and helping buyers, I want them to all be fully prepared in the beginning, know what to expect so that at the end you go, oh, yeah, that's actually better than I thought it would be. Like that,
Yeah.
that's a goal. That's a goal.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
there's also a random contingency sometimes for insurance.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge one.
I've
Thank you
seen
for
that
bringing it up.
new this year, which is
Well,
a really important thing to do because I'll have full appraisal done, full loan approval in, everything is signed off, and then the buyer can't find insurance.
oh, so that's one of the very first things that we do along with the home inspection is
Yes.
have the buyer check on, here's the property address, take it to your insurance agent, take it to several insurance agents, make sure that the property can be covered. And because a lot of companies are actually moving out of the state now, right, in terms of insurance. So you have to make sure that there is an insurance coverage plan for the property. And if you have to do the California Fair Plan, which is a state-run
Mhm.
insurance
The true
for
fire insurance. Mhm.
correct for hard to insure properties, but typically what you're going to need is some kind of a supplement to that, some kind of an additional insurance on top of that. So when it comes to that, you want to make sure that all of that is affordable and all of
Right.
that meets your budget. So
Right.
doing that early is absolutely imperative. I consider it to be one of the inspections on the property. It's part of your investigation period to
Ah, okay.
investigate the insurance, the insurability of the house.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
And then I have another contingency that I always feel like they should do on
Okay.
properties,
Okay.
especially lately with SB 326.
Mm.
I really feel if you have a condo listed, condo approval should be a contingency. This is like a really big thing lately because nobody knows that it's unwarrantable. I get a file, no agent has told me. Even the owner of the home has, or the owner of the condo has no idea that there's litigation or this, or there are many facets to having a condo be pre-approved. And when you have a condo, I'll always say, I can pre-approve this in 3 days. My underwriter has 6 to 8 hours to get me a loan approval. So, like, I'll
Wow.
have this out in three
Yeah, yeah,
days for you.
yeah.
But it'll take 7 days to just get an answer back from the HOA. Like,
From the HOA to do that condo search. Right.
just even get an answer back from them
So
sometimes.
I'm going through this right now with one of my mentees, one of the agents who are coming in, the newer agents. I always recommend a few things for a buyer buying into a condo project. Let's go talk to HOA board members. Let's find out if there are any special assessments coming up. Let's find out how they handle rules and regulations. Let's
Right.
find out. Some units in the building have washer and dryers, others don't. What does the HOA feel about that? You don't want to be buying the condo, moving your washer dryer in, and then have somebody in the HOA say, no, we don't allow that in units anymore. So
Of
that
course.
is, yeah. So talking to the HOA board, finding out information about the balconies. Balconies are a big one. There's a law in California that all overhanging balconies in properties that have more than, I believe it's 2 units, have to be inspected
That
and
are above 6 feet.
that are
Yes.
above 6 feet. Yes. Or walkways that are above 6 feet have to be
Hmm.
inspected. And HOAs and buildings have a certain amount of time to actually get the work done.
Right.
Does the building have the reserves to handle that work? Or
Exactly.
are there going to be upcoming special assessments for that work? Are there any maintenance issues that may require special assessments? And it's really interesting because there can be 2 buildings right next door to each other. And one has an amazing, proactive, and on it HOA management team and HOA board. And the one next door could be like, well, we may have meetings, we may not. I don't.
I know it's all the time when they're like, we didn't do a budget last year. Have a reserve study.
Exactly.
You're like, can I get one? Or you don't normally need it if it's over 10% down, but I have one right now that's 5% down. And 5% down on a condo means you need full condo review. So
And
you need the budget, the bylaws, the CCNRs, you need all of it. Yeah.
absolutely. And even if the lender doesn't require it, I think as a buyer moving into this situation,
Yeah.
the buyer should have that information so that they can know what to expect. For me, it's all about knowing what to expect. Once you have the keys and you move in, or if you know that this HOA board isn't well managed and the finances are not really well taken care of, then if you're the kind of person who's great, I love getting in and being part of a team. I'm going to get on that HOA board and I'm going to straighten things out. Fantastic. Then that
Right.
may be a place for you. But if you just want to pay your bills and be left alone and you want to make sure that it's handled and you don't have to participate, then we have to be looking for a certain type of HOA and a certain level of professionalism and management for you. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same when it
I,
comes to, oh, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say that's why you have a contingency though, to protect yourself, because these are things that actually have nothing to do with our borrower. Insurance actually has much more to do with the seller. And same with the condo, it has much more to do with the actual sale. It's an interesting thing that there aren't contingencies protecting the buyer in instances like this, or it's standard contingencies where it's not about the buyer's qualification or the appraisal, which is needed only because of lending. So it's just like a in LA as there is so much competition and we always have to do things as quickly as possible. And I am constantly being told, can you do a 7 day? Can you do a 7 day? We're waiving appraisal. Can you do a 7 day? And you're like, I guess, yes, of course. A 7 day on loan and appraisal, absolutely. But if it's a condo, you're like, no, yes,
Right.
I can only work as quickly as the HOA. Will they understand? If we release contingencies and there's a problem with the condo, that I might have to start this over with a non-warrantable, non-QM product. So it's definitely a discussion to have up front, of course.
Absolutely. And in regards to that, there is a common interest disclosure contingency as part of it, but that's so the buyer doesn't
I've
have
not heard of that before.
it.
Okay.
It is the review of all of the common interest disclosures, including the HOA docs, the CCNRs, etc. It is not a lender contingency,
Right.
it's a buyer contingency. So
Okay.
when it comes time to remove these contingencies, we check the boxes. We remove them one by one. And
Yeah.
again, I'm dealing with one now where the listing agent is pushing, remove the contingencies, remove the contingencies. But the buyer just found out that there is a potential for an upcoming special assessment for the balconies, right? So they're like, you know what? We'll remove all of the contingencies except approval of the HOA financials, right? So we have reserved that while the buyer and seller are figuring out what that potential special assessment is and
Right.
figuring out if the seller's going to pay it before they leave or if the buyer's going to assume part of it or what that's going to look like. But
Right.
you don't remove those contingencies until the contingency is satisfied and your buyers. So that's what I mean when I say California is a consumer protection. Like the contract is written in such a way that the buyer has all of these outs and all these abilities to cancel the agreement if they don't like what they find out,
Totally.
right?
And that's the other thing. Extend the contingency. So
Yes.
if you have 7 days and I don't have everything back, or your inspections are pushing because now you need to check the sewer, and
Yeah,
now
yes.
you just extend,
Now to check the cost of replacing that balcony for the balcony inspection, you extend it.
you
And
extend them.
and as long as your agent is communicative, as long as the agents have a good relationship and keep letting everybody know what's going on, and you remove the other contingencies as you go along to show good faith, then usually you can get that extension without,
Exactly.
yeah, without having stress. This is the part they don't show you on television. They show you get your accepted offer and yeah, you get your keys. They don't show, now we've gotten information from the HOA about,
Right.
are we going to cancel or are we going to stay in? There's a lot of uncertainty after you get the acceptance on the contract because now you really dig in. I like to tell my buyers showing homes is wonderful. That's the fun part, right? But
Yeah.
where I really earn my money is during escrow because
Correct.
that's when I have to roll up my sleeves. That's when we're investigating all aspects of the property. We're looking over the disclosures. I'm doing my walkthrough and giving my notes of the things that I find. And we're going over what does this mean? How can we find out more information? Is this going to affect you as a buyer? Do you still want to move forward? That's where the real work is done. And
Yeah.
I'm sure for you, that's where the real work is done as you're processing the loan and you're getting all the information you need from the from the buyer's employer and everything that you need to fill in
Yeah.
the gaps to get that final loan approval.
Exactly. Yeah. Like regardless of our upfront loan approval, we always have a slew and process of things to do once we actually get into escrow, even if we have the full loan approval upfront.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
updated things and small things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the long way of answering your very simple question.
I love it.
Um,
That took us through our time
okay,
on
okay.
just how to prepare yourself for your purchase, not first time purchase, but just any purchase in Los Angeles,
There
and
you
understanding why, knowing what contingencies are
go.
and why it's so important to be pre-approved up front. What does that mean for them and such? It's such an important aspect that, nobody, I say this to my clients all the time because I also have this upfront first time home buyer booklet that I created, like
Sure.
all the ins and outs of what they need to know in the process.
Yep.
Very basic, I did it.
Yep.
But I say nobody taught us how to do this. No, and this is literally one of the top most important things that you can do in your life is
Oh,
buy yourself a
absolutely.
home. And yet nobody taught us how to do that.
Nobody teaches you how to.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so it's interesting, there are so many sources now to access to figure out how to do it. Of course, like what we're doing right now.
Sure.
But when we were kids anyway, or even millennials that are buying now, they didn't have these kind of sources that they could just Google and figure out what
So
to do in the steps. Yeah.
yeah, so they can Google, they can AI, but it really helps have a sit down and build your team as a
Yeah.
home buyer. Make sure you have the right lender, make sure you have the right realtor. And I have a whole thing about how to pick the right realtor. You can check their Zillow, look at their references, have the conversation, ask the questions. What do you do in this situation? What do you do in that situation? And after you've
Totally.
done all of that, then just go ahead and call me because I'm here and can help you. That's what you need. After you check out everybody else, go ahead and check me out too. And then just give me a call. Call Natalie because I'm sure, you can help. That's what it is. It's assemble your team, make sure you have the right folks on your side who can fill in the gaps for you and walk you through this. And then it becomes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. You're such a pleasure to talk to. We're going to have to do another one of these because Listeners, he actually has his own like site for probate support, and I want to get into that next time. So please, let's schedule something else. Let's talk about that because that's very interesting and certainly a niche that people don't know or speak about.
I love it. I would
Yes.
love to come back. This has been so much fun. And I love just making sure everybody has this information and knows what a wonderful lender they have with you and how to pick your right team and make sure you put Natalie on that team.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. All right, everyone. I'll see you on the next episode. All of Mark's information is going to be below. Please check out, he's got websites and Instagrams and Facebooks and Zillows and all of it. And even has this specialty link called Walker Probate Support, which of course we're going to talk about next time. But that's all for now. Thank you for joining. Thanks for listening to Mortgage on My Mind. If you're ready to start your mortgage journey or have any questions, I'd love to help. With 20 years of experience, I make the process as simple and stress-free as possible. Check the show notes for my contact info, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. Until next time, I'm Natalie Salins, here to help make your real estate dreams a reality.